Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator Casey. And Dr. Califf, thanks very much for being with us. As you know, you and I chatted a while back, and I told you that I would not support your nomination because I believed you were not strong enough on the most important issue that the American people are concerned about with regard to prescription drugs. And that is, as you know, in our country, we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. As I understand that about 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford to fill the prescription that their doctors are writing for them. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would put into the record a comparison of drug prices in the United States and Canada, which show that on major and important drugs, the prices in Canada are far, far less expensive than they are in the United States. And that's true all over the world. My concern, Mr. Chairman, is that while last year the top 4 drug companies in this country, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Novartis, and Hoffman & Roche, they made $57 billion in profit in 1 year. I heard concern that drug companies are not doing well. They're doing quite well. And yet you have millions of Americans who cannot afford the high cost of prescription drugs. So while all of us agree that clearly we want great new products out on the market to save lives, for millions of people, it doesn't matter what the products are, they just cannot afford them. We need, in my view, an FDA commissioner who is going to be aggressive and understands that very simple principle. And I'm not clear, and what I heard today confirms that I don't think you get that. Do you think, here are some of the questions I'd like to ask and make out the point. I think it is not a coincidence that last year the pharmaceutical industry spent $250 million on lobbying and campaign contributions and employs some 1,400 lobbyists. Do you think, Dr. Califf, that that type of expenditure has any impact on the fact that we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs?
Senator Sanders, I think the ideal situation would be if the money went into R&D to develop an adequate picture of the risks and benefits of treatment, and that was made available to people.
Why do we pay the highest prices in the world by far for prescription drugs?
I'm not an expert on the price of drugs, Senator Sanders, but I'm certainly sensitive to the fact that in a field like cardiovascular medicine, my specialty, we need to have drugs available because they save lives.
But doctors and oncologists have written to us that it doesn't matter what the drugs are available because their patients can't afford them. Let me ask you this very simple question. As head of the FDA, you will oversee the importation of food products, vegetables, fish from all over the world. We can import lettuce and tomato vegetables from farms all over the world, but somehow we cannot re-import from Canada brand name prescription drugs manufactured by the largest drug companies in the world. Can you explain to me, and do you support the re-importation of brand name prescription drugs from major companies from Canada and from other major industrialized countries? Yes, no?
Senator, as you're aware from our previous discussion, we have major concerns about re-importation, the system it would take to make sure that the drugs are adequate.
In other words, you think we can bring in fish products and vegetables from farms all over the world, but we cannot bring from across the Canadian border brand name drugs? You don't think we have the capability of doing that?
We have the capability. It would add additional cost, and systems would have to be put into place to make it work.
Well, this is why precisely the American people are paying by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. It is beyond my comprehension that you're sitting here saying we can bring in vegetables and fish from all over the world, but we cannot bring in brand name drugs manufactured by the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world from a country like Canada. I just do not accept that. Now, let me ask you another question. One of the reasons we pay the highest prices in the world is today, as you know, I could walk into a drugstore and they could tell me the medicine I use, the price has doubled because we have no regulations. Do you believe that, and will you support the right of Medicare to negotiate drug prices, which is now currently not allowed by law? Should Medicare sit down and negotiate drug prices so we can lower the prices of medicine?
Well, as you're aware, I believe, that is the administration's position that in certain circumstances that has been spelled out in the president's budget that negotiation on Medicare prices should be done. It's not the FDA's remit to set the prices, as we've already discussed, but it is the administration's
The issue of affordability is within your jurisdiction. Let me just conclude, Mr. Chairman, and let me thank again Senator Casey for jumping over him here, that we all want great medicine to come onto the market, and I respect the work that you have done. But at the end of the day, people are dying. People are not buying the food they need because they have to pay outrageous prices for medicine, because we have been extraordinarily weak in taking on the pharmaceutical industry that is ripping off the American people. I believe that we need a commissioner, and I know that's not the only responsibility of the FDA, but I believe we need a commissioner who's going to stand up to the pharmaceutical industry and protect the American consumers. And I have to say to you with regret that I think you are not that person. Thank you very much.